break it, and half the ball's gone in the pot.
Yeah, like 10 sticks.
First thing you're gonna do is you put it on the table, you're gonna roll it to see if it's
It's a lamp. Yeah. As far as I know,
this
he seems to have a good handle.
straight.
Big straight balls, table. I'm sitting there waiting for you.
Good evening, everybody. We are going to call the Plum Council meeting for Monday, February 13th to order. We'll stand for the pledge, and we'll have a moment of silence afterwards. I will ask everybody to please keep in their thoughts Officer Slagansky from McKeesport, who was lost his life in duty, was killed on duty last Monday. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Mr. Thomas, roll call, please.
Certainly. Mr. Delaney? Here. Mr. Dern?
Here.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Hadley is absent this evening. Mr. Seitz?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Vento?
Here.
Mayor Schlegel?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I'll entertain a motion to approve the Treasurer's Report for the month of January 2023.
So moved. I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Dern, second by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll also entertain a motion to approve the expenses for the month of January 2023. Motion by Mr. Taylor. Second by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the minutes for the January 9th, 2023 council meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dern. Second by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Mayor, recognition of achievements in the community.
At this time, I have none.
Thank you, sir. Civic announcements, please.
Paul's like, what's he doing here?
Yeah, please.
All right, I'm Alex from Holiday Park, Hall Fire Department. Jim's usually here, but unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. I got 3 quick announcements that you guys will be happy to hear. Number 1, Fish Fry. It's back next week. Ash Wednesday, we're open all day, 11 till 7, every Friday from lunch and dinner service. So we encourage everybody coming out. Same great menu as we have every year, a few new surprises. We'll actually post the menu next week to our Facebook page so the public can see it. But all proceeds go to our annual budget. So we ask everyone to please make their way out there. What Jackie's passing out right now is the annual magazine. We started this last year with you guys, called Fully Involved. It looks back at 2022, everything the fire department did in the borough, so you can kind of see where all resources went, what activities we did, but also it adds a section on our 60th anniversary. We just celebrated 60 years 2 weeks ago here in Plum Boro. So take a look at that section. Our stats are in there. You can see how we did last year, all the activities. I know last week the mayor joined us for our swearing-in ceremony. Thank you, Mayor, for coming to that. We really appreciate it.
We apologize for that.
We actually, his words of wisdom, the crowd actually liked. So it was like very beneficial to us.
Somebody wrote it for him.
But we encourage you to take a look at that. And the magazines we're going to share with the community, as well as there'll be some at our station there. And you might recognize some events in there for yourselves. And the last thing I'm here for is obviously it's fire camp is officially back again this year, our 5th annual fire camp this summer. With your permission, Mr. Thomas, I'd like to leave a few of these, if possible, with the borough to pass out. But the fire camp is for teens 14 to 17. It's an entire week in the summer at Holiday Park. It's not just Holiday Park. A lot of the other agencies join us, help us out. But we give the kids an exposure to fire, EMS, and actually a little bit of law enforcement, too, thanks to our partners downstairs in the police department. But registration is officially open. It goes fast. It's only $50 per student, or in this case, cadet, and it covers the entire week. So we encourage you, if you have any children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, you're on council, and invite them to come out. We're going to reach out to the school district. But once again, we just want to give you guys a heads up what's going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Jackie.
Nice book, by the way.
Yeah, it is great. Any other civic announcements this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the president's report or comments, which I have none tonight. Citizens' comments on agenda items. I don't believe anyone has signed up for that. So moving on the agenda is to council actions. And on behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bear with me. This first one is a mouthful. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I move to grant final Phase 1 approval, PRD-F-01-22, for the Patriots Estates PRD contingent upon the following items. 1, the sanitary sewer must be located in the utility right-of-way. 2, the 3 previously granted subdivisions used to form the PRD parcel must be recorded. 3, all of the items in the previously granted tentative approval, including comments from all review letters, must be completed to the satisfaction of the borough engineer. 4, all third-party approvals, DEP, Conservation District, PBMA, etc., must be submitted to the borough.
We have a motion by Mr. Delaney. Second by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move to adopt Resolution 948-23 for the Allegheny County Yardside Program for Lot and Block 1098-A-131 located on Sardis Road.
Motion by Mr. Delaney. Second by Mr. Dern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Delaney.
You're welcome.
On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, Mr. Hadley was unable to be here this evening. Mr. Dern, you going to read that tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Yes, I will.
On behalf of the Personnel Management Committee, I move to adopt Resolution 949-23, authorizing the destruction of certain municipal records of the borough in accordance with the Municipal Records Act.
Motion by Mr. Dern,
I'll make it. I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second, I move to accept the marketing and PR consulting proposal as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Dern. Seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thirdly, I move to approve the executive assistant, which would be an administration job, and a job description as presented.
Motion by Mr. Dern. Second by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fourthly, I move to approve the executive assistant, which would be in the police department, job description as presented.
Motion by Mr. Dern.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fifth, I move to approve the information technology support specialist job description as presented.
Motion by Mr. Dern. Seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And lastly, I move to approve the recreation assistant job description as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Dern.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dern, but you're not off the hot seat yet. On behalf of Public Safety, Mr. Dern.
Thank you again, Mr. Doyle. On behalf of the Public Safety Committee, I move to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance regarding the municipal properties weapons policy.
Motion by Mr. Dern. Seconded by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all I have.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Dern.
You're welcome, Mr. Doyle.
On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Committee, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, you do. Number 10, please.
Yeah, number 10. It was,
It's on the wrong, it got flip-flopped there.
it was just in the wrong line.
I saved that for you, Skip.
Felt bad for you.
On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Committee, I move to approve the 2023 Borough schedule of events as presented.
Motion by Mr. Taylor. Seconded by Mr. Delaney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Seitz, on behalf of the Finance Committee.
Thank you. So on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to waive the penalty and interest fees for borough taxes for lot and block 1100-B-85.
Motion by Mr. Seitz.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to waive the penalty and interest fees for borough taxes for lot and block 971-G-156.
Motion by Mr. Seitz.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Taylor. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That ends council actions for the evening. I'm sorry. I am sorry.
There's a back page.
See? Can't.
Flip that over.
Mr. Vento, I was trying to give you the night off. On behalf of Roads, Equipment, and Grounds, Mr. Vento.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Roads, Equipment, and Grounds Committee, I move to approve the 2023 paving contract award to Dairy Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $1,041,922.45. That includes the base bid plus alternate number 1, which includes James Street and Allegheny Avenue.
Motion by Mr. Vento.
Seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Dern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also, on behalf of the committee, I move to approve the disposition of borough capital equipment as presented on the 2023 asset sales list.
Motion by Mr. Dern, or I'm sorry, by Mr. Vento.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Also, on behalf of the committee, I move to adopt Resolution 950-23, authorizing Plum Boro to enter into a marketing agreement with Utility Service Partners Private Label Incorporated.
Motion by Mr. Vento. Seconded by Mr. Seitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of the committee, I move to waive the 100-foot utility distance requirement for the Consol Mining Company LLC water line on Old Mine Road.
Motion by Mr. Vento.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
No,
Opposed?
no.
Roll call vote, Mr. Thomas.
On motion number 16, the motion to waive the 100-foot utility distance requirement for the Consol Mining Company water line where it crosses Old Mine Road. Mr. Delaney?
No.
Mr. Dern?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Hadley's absent. Mr. Seitz?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Vento?
No.
Motion carries.
Okay, also on behalf of the committee, I move to waive the 100-foot utility distance requirement for the Consol Mining Company LLC water line for Ross Hollow Road.
Roll call, Mr. Thomas.
I'll second it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion, my apologies. Motion by Mr. Vento, seconded by Mr. Taylor. Roll call, Mr. Thomas.
On item number 17, motion to waive the 100-foot utility distance requirement for the Consol Mining Company water line to cross Ross Hollow Road. Mr. Dern?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Hadley is absent. Mr. Seitz?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Vento?
No.
Mr. Delaney?
No.
Motion carries.
Also on behalf of the committee, I move to waive the 100-foot utility distance requirement for the Consol Mining Company LLC water line for Harris Road.
We have a motion by Mr. Vento. Second by Mr. Dern. I'm sorry. Roll call vote, Mr. Thomas.
On motion number 18, motion to waive the 100-foot utility distance requirement for the Consol Mining Company water line for Harris Road. Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Hadley is absent this evening. Mr. Seitz?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Vento?
No.
Mr. Delaney?
Nope.
Mr. Dern?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And last but not least, I move to waive the 100-foot utility distance requirement for the Consol Mining Company LLC water line for Barking Road.
Motion by Mr. Vento.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Seitz. Mr. Thomas, roll call, please.
Motion number 19, motion to waive the 100-foot utility distance requirement for the Consol Mining Company water line for Barking Road. Mr. Seitz?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Vento?
No.
Mr. Delaney?
Nope.
Mr. Dern?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Hadley is absent this evening. Motion carries.
And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Vento. Moving along the agenda. Mayor's report. Mr. Slagle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple of things. One, our police department wants to thank, why you guys, I don't know, but Council, as well as myself, because all police supervisor vehicles are now outfitted with active shooter building entry equipment, including ballistic shields, bolt cutters, battering rams, and forcible entry pry bars. The department also completed its first aid, CPR, AED, Narcan, and tourniquet certification training, which is required by MOPEC, and special thanks goes to Plum ES Brian Merloni for coordinating this training and providing it to the department, so thank you for that. And under Thoughtful Citizens, the Bear Den and Cub Scout Pack 111 received a tour of our new police department. They brought gift bags for the officers that included chips, Gatorade, and other snacks. And I'm going to diverge here for a moment. As was mentioned earlier, I got to spend some time with heroes, and I consider all first responders heroes, and particularly all the volunteer firemen. And that's it, key word is volunteers. They spend countless hours training, maintaining their personal equipment, maintaining the vehicles, doing fundraisers. And they do a lot of them because they need the money to keep it going. So I encourage everyone in the community to support the fundraisers of the volunteer fire companies, particularly this season with the fish fries coming up. And when I was down there swearing in the officers, I got to listen to some of the things that they were recognizing people for. And I can't figure out why people are willing to give 5, 10, 15, 20 years or more of their time serving the community, spending, as I said, untold hours, training, maintaining the equipment, doing the fundraisers, and they do this on their own. So I'd like to suggest to the community, when you encounter one of our heroes, the first thing you should do to them is say thank you and watch their face light up. And that be in the supermarket, at the service station, wherever. Say thank you. They're giving a lot of their personal time. That's time with family, that's time with friends. Of course, they have their friends at the fire companies, but it is important to recognize them and let them know that what they do is really appreciated. And the final thing, it's going to be a bit of a rant. I'm tired seeing people move into this community, and I am of the opinion that when you move in and you buy property in Plum, that you sign a covenant, that you will maintain your property and your neighbors will maintain their property. And unfortunately, we have people that move in here, some are absentee landlords, that allow the property to go. They put tenants in there that, I don't know if they vetted them or not, but we've spent a lot of time and a lot of money pursuing these. And these people ignore court orders, and they ignore they don't pay the fines, they just say the heck with it. Well, I talked with the magistrate, went to the magistrate's office, and I've got bench warrants issued for 2 of those landlords, and they will be served. They will be served by Plum Police. We are not going to put up with this. And just because you are a person of an advanced age, I really don't care. If you are making money by having people come dump on your property when there is a court order from Allegheny County courts stating that you are to cease dumping and clean up your property, and you fail to do so, then you are next on my list, sir. And he knows who I'm talking about, and I don't give a damn about his age. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving along to committee reports. Finance Committee, Mr. Seitz.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. The Finance Committee reports, so in the month of January, the borough recognized revenues totaling $680,000 and incurred expenditures in the amount of $1,273,000. However, for the year so far, they were right on budget. Meyer Dusel, our independent auditor, is currently performing field work associated with the 2022 audit. It includes auditing all borough funds and the real estate tax office. We expect to have a draft audit report in April for review during that month. For fiscal year 2023, the borough has a tax anticipation note with Standard Bank totaling $1.5 million. However, we don't expect to draw any funds on that note this year, and if we do, it won't be until the third quarter. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Seitz. Roads, Equipment, and Grounds Committee, Mr. Vento.
Thank you, Mr. President. The report is this, Roads, Equipment, and Grounds report is as follows. The bids for the 2023 paving project were opened on January 31st. There were 7 bidders for the project. Dairy Construction was the low bid and was awarded the contract at tonight's meeting. Public Works moved the police patrol into their new location at the Municipal Center, which included relocating files and office furniture. The dog kennels were also cleaned and moved to the new facility. Trees were removed on Ridgemead Fields Drive, Ross Hollow Road, Harris Road, Barking Road and Clements Road. A sinkhole was repaired on Davison Road after the Bureau of Abandoned Mines verified that it was mine subsidence. Stormwater materials were ordered and received in preparation for the start of the spring construction season. Preventive maintenance and state inspections were performed on 21 pieces of equipment and trucks, 2 administrative vehicles, and 9 police fleet vehicles. That's all I have for tonight's report.
Thank you, Mr. Vento. Public safety, Mr. Dern.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. First off, I want to remind everybody, like Alex said earlier, Ash Wednesday is next Wednesday, February 22nd. And Holiday Park will be the only department doing the Ash Wednesday fish fry from 11 to 7. However, on Fridays, they'll be doing 11:30 to 1:30 and then 4:30 to 7:30. And Logan's Ferry will be doing every Friday during Lent 4 to 8. And Renton will be doing 4 to 7, and Renton's is takeout only. And I have an update on the Stormwater Task Force. Oak Block Pond, potential off-site stream mitigation sites have been identified. KU met with the Pennsylvania DEP on January 16th, and the mitigation plans are being developed now, and they will wrap up that joint permit soon. Center Beach permit drawings revised. They were based on the public feedback. Draft easements sent to Borough to review with affected property owners. Once the flow easements are obtained, submission of dam permit, joint permit, and NPDES permit will occur concurrently. Anderson Ponds, there's no movement on that project. And Miller's Lane, KU Resources will look at the area below St. John's as a stream mitigation site for Center Beach to also achieve cleaning out of this section of stream, which will help to reduce flooding slightly. That's all I have for that update. Mr. Maloney, you're here. Please come up and give the EMS report.
Thank you, Councilman Dern. Brian Maloney, Director of Operations, Plum EMS. As always, I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. For January, we actually had a pretty busy month. We ran a total of 259 emergency responses. 159 of those resulted in a transport to the hospital. We ended up going to neighboring communities 16 times, and 13 of those resulted in a transport to the hospital as well. We needed mutual aid to come into Plum 12 times throughout the month. And that was about 4.9% of the time. Anytime EMS was needed in Plum, we had to rely on our neighboring services. But once again, we always have that relationship, so EMS will be there if you ever need us. Along with running the emergency calls, we ended up, as the mayor said, provided CPR, AED, first aid, Narcan, tourniquet training for the police department. I always appreciate and really respect the Plum Police Department. In my 24 years in EMS, and I've had some chances to work different spots throughout the county, this is the most aggressive police department I've ever worked with, in a sense that they are there on any cardiac arrest, any overdose, any, in a sense, a bad call in nature. They're always there with us. The one time I mentioned to Chief Conley about, anytime a call out in public, and that afternoon it started. And they're there for the community. They're there to help us. They're there to help the patients. So it's a great police department to work with, and we greatly appreciate it. Along with the police department, we also did CPR and AED training for all of the athletic coaches of the Plum Boro School District. That was volunteered on their time. They didn't get paid for it, but there was 51 of them that met us one evening down at the high school, and we did a good training with that group of people there as well. And I had an opportunity to participate in a career day at a local school, and I'll tell you what, I almost had a call on backup. Preschoolers and kindergartners. Oh my gosh. I thought I was almost having to break out my ballistic vest, my Kevlar helmet, and I was like on the radio ready to call for help, but it was a good experience and a lot of fun. And the Holy Family Catholic School also did a nice appreciation for first responders. They did coffee, donuts, and just the students' way of saying thank you. So that was a really nice experience, and we were real happy to be a part of that. But other than that, questions, comments, I wish I could remember your deal. So a story to make me smile is all I got. So, anything? All right.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Yep.
Thanks, Brian. That's all I have, Mr. Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. Mr. Delaney, Planning and Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. For the Planning and Economic Development Committee, the Planning Department issued 56 permits in January. The Planning Commission met to discuss 2 submissions in January. The first was a request for the final PRD Phase 1 approval for the Patriots Estates Plan, which the Planning Commission recommended for approval with conditions. The second submission was a review of proposed zoning amendments, which were recommended for approval and to be sent to Allegheny County for the review and input. 4 single-dwelling demolitions were completed from the 2022 demolition project. Staff attended demolition hearings for 3 locations. The first one at 247 Francis Road was granted a 4-month extension. At 7906 Salzburg Road was approved for demolition. And 488 New Texas Road was approved for demolition. Staff also submitted an application for the Green Light Go grant for the traffic signal improvements and modernization at the intersections of Halton Road and Coxcomb Hill Road and Ramparts Boulevard and Coxcomb Hill Road. And lastly, code enforcement completed 81 residential occupancy inspections and addressed 14 complaints. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. And last but certainly not least, Parks and Rec, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Residual leaves were cleaned up at Renton Ball Field, Larry Mills Park, and Plum Creek Park. Several trees were removed at the Plum Creek Park. Fencing was replaced on Field 8 at Plum Creek Park due to it being damaged by a fallen tree. Inspections of all fencing were conducted at all borough parks and ball fields. Repairs were made when the weather gets better. Monthly AED inspections were completed at all of our parks, and annual safety inspections were completed at the L. Francie Building, Plum Library, and Public Works Building. 2 other things. Mr. Delaney got in touch with me and mentioned, which I thought was a good idea, that we add music to our borough apps, and I'd like to get together with administration and my committee and see if maybe we can make that possible. And one other thing, a local energy company has expressed interest, just interest at this point, in possibly funding or partially funding the ice rink and the slash water pad. And I think, Mike, they're trying to get in touch with you any day now. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. That is the end of the committee reports. Citizens' comments and non-agenda items. Nobody has signed up for that, correct? So with that, that brings us to the end of our agenda, and we will, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dern, seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.